Hello, welcome to the Uncarved Block. Please, before we start, hit the like, subscribe, whatever, comment, share, and I would really appreciate it. I'm trying to get this message out. People need to know about this, especially in the atheist community, that there are atheists like us that have not bought into this regressive trans nonsense. So, about a month ago, I guess, if you haven't watched my other videos, Aron Ra, he's been a Facebook friend of mine for a long time. We hardly conversed. But, because, I figure he's busy and he has a billion people bothering him. So I didn't think I was going to be treated special. But, for a while, it was nice having him there. He recently posted something about trans people, mainly about intersex, but it attempts to segue into trans arguments. And I pointed out several things. One, that intersex does not equal trans. An intersex person can be trans, but a trans person is not necessarily intersex. And in fact, I would argue that most of them are not. Well, this went on for a while with Aron arguing, making fallacious arguments, and eventually just blocking me in a huff, which is fine. That's his right. But he chose to make a video about it, partly about me, I would say at least half, which I've already pointed out that nonsense in a previous video. And then he attempted to provoke me into calling into the line. If you're not familiar with the line, it is mainly a atheist show in which they want religious believers, usually Christians, to call in. Matt Dillahunty, its main host, has been known to be rude, condescending, insulting, cussing people out, and doing all kinds of things. It's kind of ironic that he would probably throw a hissy fit if you called Arden he, but when people ask Matt not to cuss, he says he will say what he effing wants. So it's kind of hypocritical of him to go, well, you need to use these words, but I'm not going to decline to use the words that you have asked me not to say. But anyway, they have been noted for steering the conversations the way they want. They will mute you. They will stop you mid-speech. They will not let you get your point across. And this is a well-established trait of their shows. So Aron, I had said, I would love to discuss this with you live. And as he went on getting more and more hostile, I said, okay, let's debate this live, which again, he refused to answer. And then finally I told him, I would stomp you in a live debate. Oh, well, that's when he really got upset. So he said, if you're going to stomp me, why don't you call into the line while I'm on as co-host? And I said, no, I want a neutral platform, and I want an agreed upon time that I have to say my piece, not be muted, not be interrupted by anyone. I said, that's what will happen on the line. Well, you're just scared now. No, I just, I want a neutral platform. And I suggested a few, and he declined. But, once again, it has to be his way. So he went on the line, and if you saw that episode, his intro was about me. So we're going to get into that today. This will be part 3 and the final, I assume, unless Aron chooses to make another video about me or about this issue, maybe, covering this. From what I recall, I don't think there's really much to address in what Aron says, other than quip responses. I don't think he ever makes a logical argument. And after that, I just have some leftovers. I have comments on his original post about this issue from other people. I have some comments I found online to buttress my statement that Aron needs to stay in archaeology and evolution. He doesn't need to worry about anything, philosophy, politics, nothing. He shouldn't. He's poor at anything else except evolution and maybe archaeology. So, and Yeah, that's about it. And comments under his video. What did he call it? Oh, twits and twats in the restroom or something like in trans toilets, I think. So let's get into it and see what Aron has to say. I'll interrupt him because I got the mute button.
I don't normally talk about trans issues. It's not my topic. It's not something I know a hell of a lot about.
Yeah, which is why you should have just kept your mouth shut. But here's the interesting thing. Aron says, I don't know a lot about this stuff, but I'm going to repeat all the TRA talking points and I'm going to take the side of the trans person, even though I don't know a lot about this.
I have to explain to people all the time. I'm one of the most binary people you'll ever run into. I remember when I was
What the hell does that mean?
a young man, and somebody on MTV said that by the year 2025, then everybody will be bi. I'm like, well, I don't think so.
Yeah.
And I'm one of, and it turns out that I'm kind of an oddity in that I am so binary.
Mm.
It's called heterosexual.
Which is, I if I wasn't, I would have more options on a Saturday night. I'm completely open to that. But I try to enjoy, some of the finer things. I've tried every type of whiskey. I'm just not a whiskey guy. I tried to like sushi, just can't do it. So,
Understandable.
Yeah, I know what I like. But anyway, I made a video recently based on a series of arguments that I was seeing online that just irritated the crap out of me, wherein I talk about things about trans rights. And one of the things that I always
talks about trans rights, but doesn't know much about the topic.
See come up are declarations of or insistence that trans people produce biological, objectively verifiable biological justification for their position.
Does Aron ask Christians to present verifiable, objective evidence for their claims?
And I thought, well, I've seen a number, and I've heard a number of arguments, and I've read a number of things. I'm probably know more about this than most binary people do. But it had occurred.
The hell is a binary person, Aron?
Occurred to me that while it seems that trans people could produce objective verification of this kind of this type of category if they need to, do they?
No, they can't.
They need to, because my take on this was that freedom of speech, freedom of expression, right to pursuit of happiness, all that kind of shit.
Only when it goes one way, right?
Why the fuck are we upset about it? And there was somebody on Facebook somewhere who reacted violently to that. And
violently. Not that he didn't react violently maybe first.
I let them know that I was going to be on the show tonight. So you want to, they kept challenging me. You debate, let's discuss this live. I'll trash you. Really?
Stomp.
Okay.
Do it then.
So, yeah.
Shut up, Lux.
I'll tell you what, I'm going to be on this show. Call in show. I don't have a call-in show, but you can do this one and call in.
Really? Here's Aron's channel. This is, what is today's date? This is the 4th. I actually had this video ready for a while, but I got distracted and never posted it. And I kept thinking, there's something I forgot. Oh, yes. Demonstrate Aron wrong that he doesn't have a call-in show. So look, Blasphemer's Bible 6 days ago. It's going to have guests probably. Random questions on evolution. Oh, look, he has a guest. I could have been in that square right there. Oh, look, he has 4 guests. 4 guests again, and this is all on his channel, streamed on his channel. Another guest, 4 guests, another guest, 1 guest, and as you can see, this is not something recent. 1 month, 2 months, 3 months. Okay, 3 months. Oh no, it did load. Okay, 4 months, 6 months. Yeah, there they are. So. Okay, maybe he doesn't have a regular call-in show if you want to be technical, but he certainly has the ability and know-how to do a live stream. So, this is a falsehood. Maybe lay off those pints of beer.
Oh, no, because you're going to have control of the mute button. Here's the thing. And they demanded equal time.
I actually didn't say he would have control of the mute button. I said they would, meaning probably Arden, who is behind the lines right now.
And they demanded another format. I said, no, you can call in tonight. No, I'm not going to call in because you've got control of the mute button, coward. It's not even my show. I invited you. You said you would trash me if it was live. I'm going to be live. Come on and trash me, right? But no. It's only if we have equal time and he has control of the mute button.
There he goes again. This is what Aron did repeatedly in our discussion. He would misrepresent, misread, or mishear, or whatever, anything I said. I never said I wanted to control the mute button. I said a neutral platform. And yes, I did ask for equal time. And there is nothing wrong with that in a debate.
If you're worried about the mute button, it's because you already know you don't have a valid argument.
No, I'm not going to waste my time trying to prepare something and respond and have somebody just mute me over and over again.
If I need to explain something to you to get a point across, give me a couple of minutes to do that. Then we can discuss it. I don't need to do a formal debate. Just give me a moment to explain my position. There you go. I've got a couple of minutes. If it's complicated.
So note he forgot that I just said originally, I would be happy to discuss this with you live.
It might take 5 or 10 minutes, right? Let me explain it.
Like a 5 or 10 minute intro in a debate?
Do the justifications for the argument, and then we can discuss it. I think that the way that debates are handled when they're on stage, two people on stage doing a performance, it is a performance.
Yeah.
And that's what I think.
Aron, you're performing right now. I'm performing right now. Lux is performing right now. We just can't help it. Once a microphone or we're on a stage or we're giving a speech, we're performing.
It takes a lot of it out, because how do you end up with two people talking past each other to an audience? They're not talking to each other. They are making no attempt at all to reason with each other. And so
Aron already has a pre-built assumption on what the debate would be like. This all could have been worked out. We could have had intros, open discussion. We could have had crossfire where one person controls the conversation for a certain amount of time, and then the other person, we switch and the other person does. He is basically attacking a straw man here of what the debate could have been.
For me, these performance debates, these live debates, don't actually become real until you get the audience participation. When you get into the Q&A, that's when you understand what the people really have, because now it's not in prepared presentations. Now you actually have to engage. So if I have a valid argument, I only need a couple of minutes.
Who cares if it's valid? It has to be sound.
I can block out how many minutes exactly I will need to make my argument, to make my case. If I know that I don't have a valid argument, if all I want to do is spit venom against the people I hate, then I will refuse to come on when they've got control of the mute button.
Okay, so Aron admits that he's like that, and he makes the assumption that I'm like that. Isn't there a flaw in this argument?
Then I will demand equal time. Only.
Oh, then I will demand equal time if I want to yell at somebody.
When I know that I'm a piece of shit that just wants to hate on people.
So keep this in mind. If Aron ever wants equal time, know that he's a piece of shit that wants to hate on people. That's logical, Aron.
People truly are just like trying to get a megaphone on here sometimes. And they do, like, Arden will leave on, she can mute them in one program, but not the other, so that she can mute them for the stream.
See, Arden's behind the scenes. And I know Arden would be all upset and pressing that mute button.
But she can still see their levels going. And some of them will just continue talking over us. And it's like, okay, well, you clearly weren't here to learn. Because, I mean, I view it, at least on Takis, as
learning is a one-way street with them. What they say you need to learn, but they won't want to learn from you.
As like, we are subject matter experts. And I get that that's kind of what Skeptalk is. Part of why I didn't really expect to be on Skeptalk is because I envision it in my head as like, that's where the biologists are. I am not a biologist, so I'm probably not going to be there. But I do expect people to come to the transatlantic show with like some amount of humility that I am here to explain something that I know more about than they do. And it's like the hubris with which people approach me is crazy.
It's like arguing just because you're a human, you know more about humans.
We have a call, and I really want to get to this call, but you brought up an important point. And that is that you have to have some level of expertise. So having you on and inviting somebody to call in.
So Aron admits he has to have some level of expertise. And instead of expressing the humility that Lux is asking for, Aron immediately went to TR talking points. You're wrong. I'm right. Let the men use the women's restroom.
They want to argue this. They look at it as, oh, you got somebody to tag team with you. Well, the important thing is, I mean, I am a science advocate. I believe in peer review. The thing that
Sure. Where's the peer review that backs up your TRA talking points?
that matters is not that you get equal time to lie all you want to so that the other person then only has so long to try to correct all your.
Again, remember, if Aron asks for equal time, it's because he wants to lie. And he assumes because he's that way, everyone else is. If Lux asked for equal time, would Aron accuse Lux of being a liar?
Lies and then give the correct information.
If Matt Dillahunty takes a debate and asks for equal time, which it's usually assumed in every debate, I don't see Matt refusing the equal time. Is it because Matt wants to lie, Aron?
Top of after correcting the lies.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, it's unnecessary burden. What matters is that we have fact checkers in place for everybody in real time.
Oh, okay. So where was my offer of a fact checker, Aron? Did you give me that benefit in demanding I call this show? Where was my fact checker, Aron? This is why it would be so easy to stomp him in a live debate.
Right. So this is why I prefer written debates, because then everybody can.
Cool, Aron. Let's do a written debate. I'm actually weaker in verbal debates. I would love to do a written debate. Everybody watching this video, message Aron on Facebook and say, do a written debate with the Aron Carved Block.
Can like, nope, what they said here is this is factually false. Here's the actual data, whatever, because that's what matters, right? The truth matters more than anything. So if I get something wrong, fucking correct me.
I did that, Aron. You wouldn't listen.
Right? That's what I want. But the person who wants to argue with me does not want a fact checker because they know they're full of shit already. They don't need somebody to tell them that. And so that just ruins their whole ability to argue.
Yeah, that's how you know you're honest.
Oh, shut up, Lux. I mean, I'm sorry, but Lux is the dumbest person on the line. But I think she's also the youngest. So, maybe we should give her some slack. But no, just because someone is something does not mean they're an expert. Just because somebody's a black person doesn't make them an expert on black people. Just because I'm white doesn't mean I'm an expert on white people. If I were rich, that doesn't mean I'm an expert on rich people. I mean, wow, these two morons here are sitting here going, yeah, because he wants to lie. Well, you know what? You didn't find out, did you? Now, to be honest, I actually considered calling into this show and just, I figured either two things would happen, and neither way would I lose. One, I would stomp Aron because I would point out his regressive misogynistic ideas. Or two, they would mute me and I wouldn't be able to get my argument in. And then I would demonstrate to Aron, not that he would admit it, but I would demonstrate to everybody else that, see, this was a waste of time. Also, I did not want to call in and perhaps wait for half hour, 45 minutes, maybe an hour to get in. And finally, I was spending time with my wife. So, sorry, that took priority. So Aron demonstrated repeatedly that biological women and men do not have any right in this argument. He never conceded that they should or to what degree. It was just, if the trans person does X amount, even though he kind of blurred those lines back and forth, then they need to be allowed in the opposite sex spaces. It was never, well, what if a woman doesn't want a man in their spaces? It was, the trans person gets to override the rights of the biological sexes. Here's a demonstration of how regressive, misogynistic, and stereotypical Aron's arguments are. In a response to me, he said that you said that everyone should be forced to use the bathroom indicated on their birth certificates. I actually didn't say that. I said based on the sex they actually are, which is probably 99.9% of the time what's on their birth certificate. But he continues, in which case you would have buxom, beautiful babes in the men's room and muscular, bearded guys in the ladies' room. And not for any good reason either, but just out of blind prejudice. Even if it was so obvious how wrong that would be. Why does Aron say buxom, beautiful babes? Or what about the ones that aren't buxom and that aren't considered beautiful? What about them, Aron? Why are you specifying this type of woman? Is there only one type of woman for you? And on the opposite side, the muscular, bearded guys. Does a guy have to have a beard? Does a guy have to be muscular? What about you, Aron? I mean, you're not muscular. You might have some muscles like me under everything else, but then I think he continues, you were the one who also said that men are classified by whether they produce male gametes. Well, no, not exactly, Aron. Thus, trans men are literally not men. Yeah, that's true. They're not men. Because to be a trans man, what's the first thing you have to be? A woman. And once trans women are post-op, they're not men anymore either. I thought you understood biology, Aron. They're still men. So they can't use either restroom. This is just the idiotic and demonstrable misogynistic crap that Aron is spewing. Here's another reply on his Facebook post from a woman who says, it's not your topic because you are a bloke, Aron Ra. Anyone with 2 more brain cells knows it's not just about toilets. And this other comment on his post, the famous trans man gotcha, wherein delusional women with zipper tits and testosterone addiction are used in arguments pertaining to single-sex spaces. As in, so you're saying you want him in your space? Cut to picture a woman like Buck Angel or other like her. Often, rather than build a case for why men who identify as trans women should have special access to women's spaces, an argument is built around how to police the genitals coming into those spaces. Think of it like this. A wolf in sheep's clothing degrades the safety of the flock, and a sheep in wolf's clothing degrades the safety of the flock. Those who purchase drugs and plastic surgery for their extreme body modifications are responsible for their consumer purchases. Find a unisex, hold it, or wear a diaper. If a woman's whole goal in life is to deceive others about her sex, she needs to take personal responsibility for her actions. I couldn't care less where she is going to pee. Whatever modifications a trans self-identifying person has, the consequences are their responsibility. In my opinion, one thing such people have in common is they demand society rearranges itself around them. No, you are not disabled. You did those mods to yourself. This is a response to Aron's regressive stereotypes of men, that they have to be bearded and muscular. I shared this in a gender critical group. I shared his examples, and this was one of the responses I got. These types of arguments are meant to portray safe spaces as an act of bigotry, as if segregation always necessitates feelings of hatred for some group or other. Such arguments also infer that women aren't confronting the real issue here because we're apparently blinded by our fear. In either case, the intention behind these arguments is to convince women that there must be something wrong with us and nothing wrong with the men who seek to access spaces in which females will be vulnerable. I reject this stance. The fact is, sex-segregated safe spaces are important for women's safety and the development of feminist consciousness. If we weren't constantly vulnerable to sexual assault, unwanted sexual advances, voyeurism, and other forms of abuse at the hands of men, we wouldn't need these spaces in the first place. Also, sex-segregated safe spaces aren't just about bathrooms and locker rooms. It's about women's ability to congregate independently of men and speak freely about our experiences. It is in these spaces that women have come to understand the way sexism affects their lives. Finally, there were some rational people in Aron's audience. Some of them unsubscribed because of his video. Here, we have a gay man saying, I'm an atheist. I was raised an atheist, raised by a mom who taught science for decades, who gave me an understanding of basic biology, who, as a staunch feminist, is absolutely disgusted by the modern gender ideology BS. The concept of gender isn't anything but terribly regressive, homophobic, and misogynistic. I understand that gender dysphoria is a real medical condition, but it's just that. Also, as a gay man, I reject hateful words like the Q slur and being lumped in with the T's. Watch What is a Woman documentary. So good when he sticks to his subject, so weak on this one. Two genders, two sexes, and yet too many confused people. Frankly, you should just stick to what you do best. One of my favorites. I should have stopped listening at the start when you stated, "This really isn't my issue." It obviously is not. This person points out Aron's religious views. I don't believe in gendered souls, and I don't believe men should be telling women when their concerns are acceptable or not. Overall, I am a big fan of yours, but if you don't know the difference between a man and a woman, I can no longer respect your scientific words. Also, a woman's bathroom is meant to protect women from men. No penis is allowed in the bathroom. It's not that complex. I don't care how you feel, it's what is objective physical reality. I disagree on this. You should be free to be who you want. But when it comes to bathrooms, where you should go should be based on your equipment, because what you're doing is based on your equipment. Same as sports. Ignoring these differences and ignoring what you are physically should not give you special privileges. I hear them say it's not that big a deal. Then what's the big deal with going where you've always gone? Why not change that if it's no big deal? It's healthy to accept what you are and what you have. Everyone knows what a man and a woman is. We don't need a 15-minute lecture trying to word salad your way out of it. The people voted and decided you're wrong. Let it go. That something changes over time does not make it subjective. We all develop as we grow. That is change, which is not subjective. I think you have lost the plot, dude. Identity is your internal sense of self. It can't be extracted, measured, interacted with objectively. What material device can you use to objectively determine my favorite color? That's what makes it subjective. Shame on you, Aron. I thought you were rational. Unsubscribed. You use their slur, cis, to describe yourself. I never thought I would have to unsub to you for stupidity, but here we are. Finally, if I'd have known that this was going to occur, I would have screenshot a lot of comments over the years that I've seen in Facebook groups where it's usually atheists versus Christians. Someone will bring up Aron, and almost always someone will comment, yeah, he just needs to stay out of philosophy because he doesn't know it that well. Of course, I never screenshot those, and I'm not going to, it would be virtually almost impossible to find them. But I did find this on a Reddit or Quora post where someone asked about Aron and his buddy Dillahunty. And this one responded, Aron Ra almost seems cartoonishly silly, like a real-life caricature of the internet atheist, making really weird statements like, rocks are atheists, and in a debate he once claimed that his interpretation of the text of the Bible was more valid and superseded the actual mass history of textual criticism and biblical scholarship, which is a perfect reason not to take any of his thoughts or opinions on the Bible seriously. Especially since he stated at the outset of that debate that he did not study his debate opponent or that opponent's positions. He can rattle off scientific talking points quite well, but that's only really an issue for concordists. I don't think he knows how to process a Christian who isn't a fan of Ken Hovind or who would disagree in a bunch with Ken Ham, other than to blindly assume that such people are just picking and choosing what they want out of the Bible, even though that's precisely what he does for his criticisms. Now, did Aron actually claim that rocks are atheists? Why, yes, he did. One of my favorite channels is called The Mary Chew. It's a British person that is trans, but also gender critical, and will pretty much streams almost every day, and we'll talk about issues relative to trans issues. Since Aron wanted an expert, and he assumes just because somebody is trans, they're an expert on trans, then I requested Mary respond to this. Let's see how it goes.
Called into this very obviously online Reddit atheists channel that happens to watch me and is in my Discord. We've got twits and twats on trans toilets. Yes, this is someone that sent this to me in my Discord, and it's someone that actually watches me. I don't really know what's going to happen. This guy's Aron Ra. He's a atheist YouTuber. You already know this because look at him. What the fuck else is the person going to do other than be a YouTube atheist? I'm an atheist myself. I don't really enjoy atheist content.
Hi,
in general. Not really my thing. Never really enjoyed it. Even when I was like a teenager and I cared about like atheism and shit. It's really not my thing. But listen, like many online atheists, he's like very pro-trans as far as I understand.
Yep.
You have this argument with someone that watches me, and I'm gonna watch this debate. Apparently that's what it is. We need a poisoning of the well, I guess, first. How nice.
Yep.
Let's see.
Before we get into this, understand that there won't be any discussion of this in the comments because YouTube has changed their policy. They no longer do email notifications. It used to be that if you reply to something I said in the comments of some video, I would get a notification.
Let's look at some of these comments. Yeesh, that guy is, well, it's a choice, I guess. Atheism Plus, TRA Satanist. He's so pretentious. He's a very hardline atheist.
Anonymous troll number 693 has replied to your comment on.
Am I trans or just gay? I'm trans. I'm not actually gay. But when I say gay, when I say gay, I mean like I'm a male and I date female.
On some video from a couple of years ago, and then I would go, read it, address it appropriately. I used to get several dozen notifications like that every day, but not just for recent videos either, but for old ones too. I mean, like my whole repertoire. So I mean, there'd be several dozen messages, and it wasn't just for the last one. It was really hard to keep up on, but I haven't gotten one such notification since June 17th. So yeah.
Been in the atheist path for decades. Yeah, that makes sense.
If you post a reply to something I said, the only way I would ever know about it is if I scrolled through all the comments of all my videos every day.
Ain't nobody got time for that.
I recently
I don't know if guys like this should be using like clips like that, but
posted.
Yeah, you mean those binary white guys?
Did something on Facebook talking about biological, hormonal, developmental, and chromosomal confirmations of intersex or transgender conditions. This is not a subject I ever talk about because I don't know much about it myself. I'm about as binary as they come. So I have no personal investment in this topic and no special knowledge to contribute to it. That's why I never made a video about this before, and I don't expect to make another one after.
hasn't he I'm sure he's talked about we can do the no expert thing now. Well, this kind of makes me think is that we're being primed.
Yeah.
For him not to actually do all that well in this debate.
Hi, I'm Aron Ra.
But I don't know, to be clear. Just bear with me. I'm sure he's talked about trans stuff.
No, but he is friends with Matt Dillahunty, who is dating a trans person.
I could be wrong. Unless he's been on The Line or one of those other Austin atheist channels, because they're all extremely pro-trans.
Correct.
To the point where The Line is literally atheism plus trans issues, and that's what they do.
Yep.
After this either, it's not my subject. But almost every day, some idiot on the interweb says atheists don't know what a woman is. When in fact, those trolls can't come up with a single consistent definition themselves. Not
adult human female, easy.
One that applies.
Got you, Aron. Trans person, expert, adult human female.
Applies in all cases. They act as if you're not even human if you don't produce gametes.
Okay. anyone who actually does that is a retard. But when you say large gamete producer, you also mean people that developed in that way.
Yep.
And that they can't, there's a problem. Or one day we might be able to start curing like conditions that make you infertile.
Yep.
In which case they would still have one or the other role, right?
Correct.
You're not going to get some women that we assumed were women because they have ovaries and all this other kind of shit and they just can't produce eggs or their eggs aren't viable. And then we cure their infertility and then they immediately start fucking impregnating women. That's not going to happen, let's be real.
Some thoughtful comments explain.
Oh, really? This is a stupid infographic. This is dumb.
Get him.
The placements on this spectrum are very arbitrary. Klinefelter is somewhere along here.
Expert.
When in fact, Klinefelter is 100% male. I'm pretty sure Turner syndrome is somewhere around here. When Turner syndrome should be all the way over here. It's completely female.
All right, there's your
Isn't it kind of offensive to say? If you have Klinefelter, then you're actually less of a man.
Yep.
And more of a woman than the average man.
Yep.
A lot of people out there wouldn't take that very well.
Nope.
Please show this infographic to anyone who thinks sex, let alone gender, is binary, and ask them whether someone with a condition like AIS is male or female and why. Watch them squirm. Like, dude, if this is the people you're listening to, then there's a problem.
Yep.
Make them look up the definitions of sex and gender in a dictionary. No one who knows anything about arguing anything points people towards the fucking dictionary. Like, come on, bro. What is AIS again? Androgen insensitivity. So you're supposed to be male, but you don't develop male because of issues, like usually with the SRY gene, I think it is. I could be wrong. The body doesn't respond to testosterone. May have a full or partially undescended testicles, but no womb or ovaries. Well, these are male then. This already answers it. Like, why would you show this post? It's retarded.
Yeah.
Someone with a condition like AIS. Well, let's take AIS. We're looking at it now. It affects males. Those people are males.
Yep. Broken reproduction.
Women who carry the genetic alteration will not have AIS themselves.
Yep.
But there's a 1 in 4 chance each child they have will be born with AIS. So then it's males. They don't have a womb. They don't have ovaries. They do have undescended testicles, potentially. So they're male? I don't know. That was quite easy, actually. I was hoping for a bit more of a challenge. Anyway.
Aron debunked
Explained a number of different types of notable exceptional circumstances, but to no avail.
Yeah, the laugh reacts are accurate on here. This doesn't explain shit. This is a dumb post. You're trusting someone who trusted a really stupid infographic that does not really show anything in any... It doesn't show anything, like, substantial. Oh, hi, Unclaved Block. Yeah, we're watching this. I thought it was a debate. I could be wrong. I guess it's not. He's just bitching. But yeah, this is a really dumb post. I don't know why he's using this. If he's using this, that suggests that, yes, he's right. He knows nothing about his subject, and maybe you shouldn't talk about it.
So far as I can see, the science seems to soundly support the trans community, but
No.
anti-trans haters can only talk about generalities.
Okay, I just talked about a specific and answered that person's question. I've also covered that stupid infographic extensively. There are many problems with it. Sex is not a spectrum. Doesn't make sense to present it as. Anyone who plots any of these different conditions on a graph, there's going to be a lot of disagreement, and they're just wrong. Like, Klinefelter is not somewhere over towards woman. They're male. Like, incontrovertibly, if that's a word. There's just no way that they are in any way female. If you've got an extra X chromosome, that doesn't make them in any way female.
These bigots may acknowledge that exceptions exist, but they simply refuse to account for them, insisting that everyone everywhere...
What you could do with maybe showing that these exceptions exist and can't be categorized, or that you can still have a binary of sex, when it's about reproductive role, and still acknowledge as people that don't really fit either, but they're not really relevant.
I like this. I thought the whole point of being an atheist is getting on with it because religion is a waste of time. What does this guy do for a living? Pontificate about his beliefs? He's a priest.
There is and always was either male or female, period, and that can never be changed, or that it should never be changed, even if it can be, because it doesn't matter to them.
But what else is there? You can't just say intersex, because intersex is like a spectrum of different things. So then you're saying that there's various different things other than male and female. So like, what are they then?
Whether the technology exists. The anti-trans bigots insist that it must not be used because of their own religious delusions or
like this tying like the belief in the binary to like anti-trans bigots. It's so cringe.
Their petty prejudice being imposed against other people. At best, one of them in that thread said that everyone was male or female or intersex, female, but that they should be isolated as oddities. Now, some people are okay with being either or, neither nor, but not everyone. Most people, I think, would rather fit in where they feel they belong. Being denied that would not be a good circumstance for such a social species as we.
Doesn't that kind of depend? Doesn't that really kind of depend? Why are they trying to get integrated into a different group to what they are? Are they even trying in some circumstances?
Nope.
Plenty of these people that identify as women clearly have no desire to actually fit in with other women.
Yep.
Or like integrate themselves with women.
So if they have their way, then you can't.
This is just basically like stubborn old man shit. Like, this is these kinds of people that go on like TikTok to like shill for the fucking Dems and tell people that they're obsessed with the genitals of others and all that kind of shit. He already said at the start he knows nothing about any of this.
Have yours. They want to restrict your right to even to your very identity, just so that they can enjoy. If they have their way, then you can't have yours. They want to restrict your right to even to your very identity.
No, they don't. I mean, first off, we're talking about some nebulous group that both does and doesn't exist at the same time. That's why I hate these appeals to like anti-trans bigots. But like, what people want is the right to not have to agree with someone's identity, because your identity is meaningless. An identity surely is at least somewhat socially constructed. It relies on you having a word for the thing that you are.
Just
comment. I'm so annoyed with the atheists I am fans of and followed for years are not being critical thinkers about the gender trans topic.
So that they can enjoy their right not to even consider you. One particular person on that thread argued that trans people...
The issue is when they attempt to use a subjective identity to gain entry into opposite sex spaces. Well, that happens. It's been used to justify being in the wrong space. Many have on this thread emphasized the difference between sex and gender. Fine. Acknowledge that gender does not allow entry into opposite sex spaces and sports. Trans people have rights, but sometimes your rights don't allow you to override the rights of others. I think this is fine.
Thank you.
People have a subjective identity. But isn't everyone's identity subjective by definition?
Well, the problem is, what are most people's identities around their sex? It's just what sex they are. Like, they don't even have to identify as it, because it just is what they are. So even if they have like some kind of identity, it's like, well, okay. Why does anyone have to care about your identity? Why is it anyone else's business?
Yep.
It's even malleable, too. Some folks have a very different personality, attitude, and outlook in their youth than in their old age. The point behind my post in Facebook was that while I think trans people probably can provide objectively verifiable biological justifications for their condition, I don't think they necessarily have to. Objectively verifiable. The point behind my post in Facebook was that while I think trans people probably can provide objectively verifiable biological justification...
How come they never do then? How come I've watched so many trans people? And the only ones that make any sense are the ones that admit that they're male or female.
Yep.
When that's what their sex is. What biology justifies what trans people are saying? When fundamentally, it always comes back to, I am what I identify as. There is no biology that explains any of that, because it's not biology.
Yep.
For their condition, I don't think they necessarily have to.
if they want to be males getting into female spaces, bearing in mind males are overwhelmingly more likely to victimize women in certain situations, then yeah, I think they probably do need to justify why they should have access to those spaces.
Yep.
Because the country I grew up in promised that everyone had freedom of expression tied to their constitutional right to liberty and the pursuit of happiness. In fact, that is, or rather was, the greatest thing about America. If you want to make America great again, give us the nation we had a year ago, or better yet, the nation we had 10 years ago, when we had more
There we go, damn shill.
rights than we do now.
What does that even mean?
I don't know why people think
He's
that
not going to explain.
only atheists support the rights of trans people. There are plenty of Christians who do too, and there are prominent atheists who do not. The only correlation is that atheists, more often than not, tend to be supportive of human rights across the board, and not just for some demographics. But there are many people, including some atheists, who prefer to trivialize, demonize, or criminalize what they call the alphabet people, and what I call...
This is so stupid. We've got this dichotomy of the ones that care about human rights and the ones that want to demonize and trivialize. This guy's so bad faith.
Yep. Bad faith.
Who fucking watches this guy? You should be embarrassed. Fuck me, man.
Yeah. Be embarrassed.
Listen, I know
Watching
the
Aron
feeling.
Ra.
I used to
Yeah.
watch Dark Viper AU. You know what I mean?
Dark Viper.
It's okay to like someone who turns out to be a bit of a retard.
Yep.
called
It's okay.
genderqueer or queer folk, which I consider to be inclusive of the whole non-binary spectrum. I don't mean it pejoratively. When I dipped my toe into Texas politics back in 2016, I ran against a Christian conservative incumbent, religious right Republican Robert Lee Hall, whose primary platform policy was making sure that trans people couldn't pee in public restrooms.
It's not that, is it? He just doesn't want them to pee in women's room.
Yep.
Why can no one do this? Why does everyone just broaden it out to all restrooms? That's so fucking annoying.
I mean, he was also against teaching children anything factually accurate in school, whether in science, sex, or social studies, and he wanted to minimize or eliminate the interests and influence of dark-skinned people and deregulate everything so that rich people won't be accountable for anything they do.
Listen, you ran against him. How am I supposed to trust that you're objective? The guy that you probably fucking lost to, most likely. Because who the fuck's voting for your fucking ass?
The environment, the economy, and their overworked but underpaid employees.
Actually, I think Aron dropped out, but it's still funny.
But Texas Senator Bob Hall's #1 priority was to further...
Well, he's not normally this retarded. You should be embarrassed. Like I said, I know the feeling. I was a big Dark Viper AU fan for a while. I was a big Destiny fan for quite a few years. I know the feeling. It's okay. This guy sucks. I can tell he sucks just from this. This is the most terrible faith shit ever.
marginalize what is already the most marginalized demographic in this country. I read that only 0.6% of Americans are trans, way less than 1%. I read that priority was to further marginalize what is already the most marginalized demographic in this country.
Wait, that isn't you. Hang on.
I read that only 0.6% of Americans are trans, way less than 1%. So how can hating them or hurting them be anyone's top priority?
Well, it's no one's priority to hurt them. They just disagree on how best to integrate them into society. You're starting from a position of, well, why do you want to hurt these people whenever anyone suggests they shouldn't be in certain rooms or in certain sports or whatever? Then you're already completely hopeless. There's nothing you can do.
The answer to that is political. It's about how to manipulate your base. Smart people are in the minority. You needn't worry about them because among the electorate, stupidity reigns supreme. So keep your people ignorant and afraid. Keep them voting based on fear of the unfamiliar, fear of other people. Be afraid of those people who are different from us, who maybe don't believe exactly whatever we believe, people who look different, dress different, people who act different, especially in bed. Not that that should concern you, but make your voters think that even showing common courtesy to these people on the street is as bad as sleeping with them. Don't let your constituents think or even know about some of the real issues, things that they should care about, things you actually could make better for everyone. Now, you're not
I actually fucking hate this. I might have to change it in a sec because, like, Jesus Christ.
there for everyone. You're only interested in what makes things better for you and at everyone else's expense. So you have to play to their prejudice to convince your constituents that imposing draconian restrictions against other people, strange and scary people, is somehow morally justified in the eyes of an imaginary ultimate authority that you pretend is backing you up. So that your base feels as if punching down on the weak is somehow righteous rather than pointlessly stupid and cruel. As if...
Okay, so is that you? Is that you around here? Does he talk about you? Is that you there? Skip forward. I have heard this fucking shit a million times.
A lady in an American ladies' room, and this girl comes in, do you have the right or a reason to kick her out?
Well, is that a girl or is that a man? they're a man, then yeah, they probably should be in the men's. Probably no one will based on how they look. But how many fucking trans women look like this? Doesn't even look like a real person. This looks like AI.
Nailed it.
How many trans women honestly look like this?
Because if we impose laws based on birth certificates, then she'll have to use the men's room. How well do
Oh no, that's truly the issue of our time. Why aren't you talking about housing?
you think that would work out?
Talk about the cost of living, talking about housing. Talk about housing. Trans people are like almost none of the population, as you just said. That's going to be a meme now. I'm just going to tell people to talk about housing forever.
Are we only concerned with the safety of the people in the ladies' room and not so much the safety of someone like this in the men's room?
Well, I mean, if someone commits a crime, I imagine the police would want to know about it. Like, either way.
What if you're in the ladies' room and this guy comes in? Do you have the right to throw him out? Well, no, you don't, because his birth certificate says he was initially declared female. So this is the restroom these bigots...
This is a trans man. Oh. To be fair, if the women's principal concern is that if a man comes in, he might rape them, then they're probably not too worried about this person, because he ain't got a dick.
This would force him to use, no matter how uncomfortable some women might feel about that.
I mean, I'm fine with like being more nuanced about toilets, to be honest.
If you impose a law forcing people to use the restroom indicated on their birth certificate, then you are requiring that this man follow your daughter into the toilet.
And they always go for the passoid ones. What about all the many, many more trans people that don't pass?
Yep.
This only works when they actually look like the sex they're trying to be. But these are like they're not like the majority of trans people.
Expert.
Probably more passing trans men than trans women, I'd say.
Expert
Even
on.
then.
Expert
if they
on.
start getting fat, it's basically over.
Mary's an expert.
What happens then? Well, this guy can tell you. He wanted to use the men's room, but because his birth certificate identified him incorrectly, he was forced to use the ladies' room instead, whereupon he was arrested for being a man in the ladies' room.
Okay. Why don't you just use the men's, seeing as apparently no one was stopping him?
Damned if you do, damned if you don't, right? Maybe the problem is that not everyone has completed their transition, and some people whose minds can only think in binary have issues trying to see someone who isn't binary.
Oh, so that was your, like, post. Okay. I hate this person. This is actually, like, cringe as fuck. Why is that changed? Why does this change? It changes to an E.
Mary just
Binary.
noticed that.
Not like there's one for men, one for women, and a third option, like one for everyone.
Okay, I get it. Yeah, this is painful. I can't fucking listen to this shit anymore. These like old ass fucking atheist damn shills are like fucking lame. They're all fucking lame as fuck. None of them are helping anyone.
Oh.
What did I want to look at now?
There we have it. So following Aron's own supposedly valid arguments, he makes the claim that a trans person is an expert on trans if they are trans, because they're experts on trans. So Mary is, by Aron's rules, an expert on trans, and Mary couldn't even finish the video. But yet, what parts Mary did address rebutted Aron Ra with evidence, with science, and the fact, I love that Mary pointed out that Aron was using a graphic that he probably himself did not vet. And thus we come to the end of the Aron Ra response that started on Facebook, and I suppose will now conclude here. To Aron, if you watch this, which you probably won't, but I would still be happy to discuss this. I would be happy to debate this. But you can't expect me to come onto a platform that will, the end result will be a one-sided conversation, and I would not be allowed to speak. Maybe you're dishonest, but don't assume just because you are, others are. And in the future, Aron, stick with evolution. Thank you for listening, watching. Everyone, take care. Go subscribe to the Mary Chew. Mary often has call-ins. So, Maybe if you disagree with me, you can call Mary because Mary's an expert, according to Aron. Right? Take care.